Today we're jumping straight into one particular source. It's an analysis of this fictional story called Gates's Mentorship, Passing the Torch to Amina. And yeah, might be fiction, but we're using it today as a kind of blueprint.
Yeah.
Our mission is really to see how this story shapes the narrative around Bill Gates' legacy. Specifically focusing on mentorship, knowledge transfer, and perseverance.
Exactly. Think of this story as like a case study someone constructed. We're looking at its structure, the key moments, the choices the authors made to figure out how they're building this idea of Gates passing on his vision to, well, the next generation.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The story apparently kicks off in 2023, and it focuses on, quote, an aging Bill, someone who's really reflecting on his legacy.
That timing, 2023, and the focus on him aging, it sets up this feeling of, needing to ensure things continue. It frames the mentorship not just as a nice thing to do, but as the core way to transfer that legacy.
It's not just day-to-day operations then. It's about what lasts.
Right. The narrative basically says a big vision doesn't mean much unless you embed it in people who can carry it forward. So it's less about past glories and more about future continuity.
Got it. And the person chosen for this, Amina, described as a fictional Kenyan student. And the setting for her is important too, right? She's at a Gates Foundation coding bootcamp. The source notes this connects to real-world foundation efforts.
Absolutely. That's not just a random detail. Putting her in Kenya, in a foundation program, it directly links the huge global scale of the foundation's work to one specific person. She becomes a kind of symbol.
A symbol of the communities they aim to serve.
Exactly. It makes the mentorship feel really vital to the foundation's whole mission, not just abstract.
And it suggests she's already skilled, right? Not a big encoder, but ready for something more strategic.
Yeah, the groundwork's assumed, so the stakes feel higher from the start. This isn't just basic training.
Okay, so let's get to the project itself. What do they actually build together?
They collaborate on an app. And it's got this very direct, very critical humanitarian angle, improving access to rural healthcare.
Rural healthcare access. Okay, that makes sense. Blends the tech with the global health mission.
Precisely. It's like the ideal outcome the narrative wants to show. Tech solving real, deep-seated human problems. It carries a lot of weight.
But here's where it gets interesting, as you said. The narrative throws in a wrench. Just as this vital project is getting off the ground, funding cuts. Suddenly, the whole thing could collapse.
Right. And it's not because the app is bad or the tech fails. It's money.
Why do that? Why make it a funding crisis?
Well, think about it. If the app had bugs, Bill mentors her on code, technical problem, technical solution. But a funding crisis, that demands something else entirely.
Like resilience.
Yeah.
Resourcefulness.
Exactly. It's about navigating external pressure, dealing with scarcity. It shifts the mentorship focus from just technical advice to strategy and character. It's more like a real-world startup struggle.
Okay, I see. It tests them differently.
And this is where the mentorship piece gets really core to the analysis. It requires something deeper than just code review. And crucially, something other than Bill just, writing a check.
Ah, right. If he just paid for it, that wouldn't teach much, would it? It'd be transactional.
Exactly. The story needed a transformative moment, not just a financial fix.
So what does he do? This is the key mentoring move, isn't it? Instead of opening his wallet, he changes tack completely. He shares a story, a personal one.
He tells Amina about the early days of Microsoft, the really tough times.
Wow. Okay, so he talks about his own struggles.
Yeah, the source implies pretty serious stuff. Chaos, near failure, huge pressure. He basically steps off the pedestal of Bill Gates, icon of success.
And connects his past crisis with her current one, even though one's a Kenyan healthcare app and the other was, early Microsoft.
That's the core of it. He uses his own vulnerability, his own story of almost failing, to model resilience. He's showing her, I faced something overwhelming too, and here's how I thought about it.
So the goal wasn't just sympathy, it was strategy.
Absolutely. It was meant to push her to find her own way through the funding mess, to build that grit. The narrative suggests that the technical skills are useless without the inner strength to keep going when things get hard.
That really reframes legacy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just about the success, but about passing on the ability to handle failure.
Yeah, the knowledge being transferred isn't code, it's coping mechanisms learned through adversity. It's almost like the most valuable thing he had to offer wasn't his current wealth, but the memory of his past struggles.
That's quite a counterintuitive idea for a story about someone so successful.
It is. The narrative seems to argue that a mentor revealing their past weaknesses can actually become the mentee's future strength.
Let's dig into that anecdote a bit more. What kind of struggles are we talking about? Near bankruptcy, internal fights.
The source material suggests things like that, yeah. Moments where the whole Microsoft venture could have just disappeared. Real existential threats, not just minor bumps.
Okay, so that makes him more human, less like this untouchable figure.
Exactly. It bridges the gap. She's facing this huge financial hurdle. He shares his own story of facing a huge hurdle. It validates her struggle, makes it feel like a necessary step, not a sign of failure.
Makes sense. It frames the struggle as part of the journey.
Right. And it makes the eventual success feel more earned
Hmm.
because they didn't just get bailed out. They had to navigate the crisis.
So speaking of success, the story does wrap up positively, I assume. This mentorship approach works.
It does. Amina, inspired or maybe just emboldened by Bill's story, finds a way to secure the resources. The joint effort pays off.
And the app. What happens with the rural healthcare app?
It launches globally. So the practical technological goal achieved, it delivers on that initial promise.
Okay, so the project itself is a success.
But there's another piece, Amina herself. She doesn't just launch the app, she also earns a major scholarship.
So it validates her personally, too. Not just her coding, but her leadership, her ability to overcome that crisis.
Precisely. It completes the loop. She's recognized as a future leader because she demonstrated she could deliver impact even when things got tough.
Which ties back neatly to the title, Passing the Torch.
Exactly. The narrative concludes with Bill feeling he's successfully passed on the vision, but the torch isn't just the idea for the app, it's that flame of resilience, that ability to endure. The vision isn't secure until the successor shows they can handle the heat.
Okay, let's bring this home for the listener. Thinking about legacy mentorship, what's the key takeaway here from analyzing this specific story?
Well, it seems this narrative defines legacy less by the final product, the successful app, and more by the process. Specifically, the successful transfer of the ability to navigate hardship. Amina's triumph depended on her internalizing Bill's story of near failure. Yeah, it suggests real mastery isn't just winning, but knowing how to face loss without quitting. And what I find really fascinating is how the story deliberately connects these two very different worlds. You've got the global public health challenge, the rural app tied directly to the story of a tech giant's rough private sector beginnings.
Humanitarianism meets capitalist grit.
Right. And mentorship is the channel that brings them together. Legacy, in this view, is the synthesis of both the big mission and the personal resilience to see it through.
Which leads to a final thought for you, the listener. The story makes a pretty bold claim about mentorship, doesn't it? Bill, the ultimate symbol of success, had to share a story of failure, of vulnerability, to really empower Amina. So how much does revealing our own past struggles, our own weaknesses, actually define effective mentorship? Maybe even define what makes a legacy truly last? Perhaps the most valuable things we have to pass on aren't our polished successes, but the lessons learned from the times we almost didn't make it. Something to think about.